All right. I didn't actually do between sets because I just finished my workout because my 4-week-old's not going crazy in there. He's just such a loud sleeper. And so he grunts a lot. I don't know if it's him waking up or what, but he's been grunting for the past, I don't know how long, like 20 minutes. And I know he can grunt for hours. But one last thing I did want to explore that I thought of is, two things. Number one, as I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to not be as performative and say things just for the ability to turn to a clip. And the first thing I thought was, you know what? When I sit back down, I'm going to give a very nice, tight, concise summary of what we talked about so far. Because that'd be a super good clippable moment. And I'm not going to do that, but basically, we have a plan. Where we're at is not what we want, but we can live with it if it's what happens. But there's where we want to be, and so how do we get there in a smart way based off of understanding ourselves and our past and not rush into the decision. But I mentioned that I know that all this could be cope, and that the right decision could be she just quits now and you just figure it out, find a regular job, be a normal person, and be okay with that. That's probably a conversation also. Another reason why I'm in this situation is because I have this idea of me being the hero of the movie, and that's not reality, right? Not every single person is going to be Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and I kind of mentioned that in the last video too, talking about the analogy of the movie The King and how I always identify myself with the king, the guy who's in charge. Whereas in reality, in that analogy, I was the bishop being carried on the plush pillow to the battlefield. But anyway, so the plan, and then the understanding of my coping. And on the same note of coping is I want to make sure I'm not gaslighting myself or my wife, because that's something I have a tendency to do where, there's something that I want, and so I manipulate myself and her in order to get kind of what I want, or to avoid what I don't want. And I want to make sure that I'm not doing that right now, which is why I'm really glad I kind of had this reflection and maybe need to play devil's advocate a little bit more with the plan. Because again, if money's not an issue, then why would the main driver of our decision be money based? Like, we're saying we want it to be lifestyle based, but at the same time, one of the biggest things is of us not wanting her to kind of quit her job is that she makes a lot of money for minimal amount of work relative to the amount she makes, right? And it's not like she's not working at all, or it's part time. It's a full time job, but based on how much she makes, I'm not going to be able to come close to that for maybe not ever. And is that okay, basically? Or are we going to look back and regret? Because on the one hand, it's if she leaves, and then I'm kind of doing my own thing and I'm making okay money, but we didn't fully estimate how much time it would take, or how much I'd be away, or how I react. For having that work for so long, I'm gonna come home super tired and irritable, just like I was when I was a cop. But on the other hand, are we gonna regret in 5 years from now her not leaving, because we're kind of gonna be in the same situation where it's okay, now what? It was 5 years later, we're kind of in the exact same situation we are now, and then we decide, okay, yeah, you quit, I get a W-2 job, and then we look back and say, okay, well, why didn't we do this 5 years ago? So that's something else that we kind of thought about, and again, it kind of just keeps going back to, number one, we have a 1-month-old, and we probably should be making these life-altering decisions with, so little sleep, but it's still important to think about. But at the same time, it's am I gaslighting and coping, or is this actually the right answer, or is there even a right answer? Is there the out of the 20 different paths there are, is there one path that is correct, or maybe whatever we decide to do is what's correct. I don't know. But I think if her job were like she were to get fired or something were to change drastically with her job, that would definitely make the decision a lot easier and kind of push us in that one direction. And then, so that's kind of like what I wanted to at least mention. He seems like he's fine. Because something else I wanted to say too is, and again, this kind of comes back to the gaslighting, the coping aspect of it is, like, I don't know what to do, like work-wise, because I kind of calculated it out, and I'll have, because I don't really do much. Like I have no friends. I don't like play video. I have no hobbies besides working out. I guess it's more so like I get up. The past like 6 to 12 months, I'd say, like get up at 4 a.m. and I'd work on some side hustle until the kids woke up, and then sometimes I'd work out. But for most of that time, I was not working out. I was just in there 4 to 7, having like a complete crisis, basically thinking that, as I said earlier, like I've got to figure this out or else it's all over. The world's gonna end. And then I'd be with the kids. I'd take the kids to school, and then I'd work while they were at school, and then I'd pick them up, and then I'd be with family or with the kids doing something. And then because I was getting at 4 a.m., I'd be like exhausted. Until the second the kids went to bed, I'd go to sleep. And really the only like me time that I had was on Friday nights and then Saturday nights. I'd like try to watch a movie, but usually I'd be like so tired I couldn't even do it. I would just go to bed, and then that's it. It's like it's not like I'm, playing video games for hours or watching a bunch of TV shows or hanging out with friends or doing whatever. I don't even like really doom. I mean, I doom scroll now. Like when you have a kid, you for sure doom scroll, like a new kid. I wasn't even like doom scrolling. I was on social media all the time. So it's not like I was like, I was wasting all this time. I was in there trying to grind on this thing, and it just didn't work out. And I was gaslighting myself into saying, okay, once you pick a side hustle, you have to shut out all the negativity and the criticism and the playing devil's advocate. It's like, no, like you're doing this thing and you're gonna go all in, and like any thought that comes up for yourself or any external noise that comes in saying, hey, maybe this isn't the right decision, you have to ignore that, because that's what the people who are successful say. You need to go all in, burn the boats, and just go. And I did that so many times, and I eventually got to the point where it just didn't work out. Mostly because it was the wrong thing, and I listened to that advice, and now I'm sitting here thinking like, what am I gonna do? I've got 20 hours. I've got the 4 to 7 window, maybe a couple hours during the day. I can get up early on the weekends. I obviously, because of priorities the kids, I can't be sleeping 4 hours a night because I can't function that way. I'm gonna be irritable with the kids, and I kind of know myself, and there's really no way around that. Like there's no way of me getting 4 hours of sleep and being a good person. It's just those two things cannot coexist. It's an impossibility. So I have to go to bed when the kids go to bed. Plus, I sleep with them because that's what they need. And sure, you could say we'll just figure it out how to have them not sleep with you, but again, we kind of tried that and it just doesn't work. And again, maybe that's cope too, but I have like a set amount of hours, the maximum amount of hours based off of my priority of being with family, and then the time after that, spending it either on working on a side hustle or realizing like, hey, like I gotta go to sleep or I gotta do these things so that I'm not, like household duties while the kids are doing stuff, because then if I don't, then I'm gonna be with them and thinking about all the things they have to do, right? And kind of just the same issue I had before. But I'm like, what am I gonna do in 20 hours in order to create some sort of side hustle? And again, I know 20 hours, people create side hustles all the time. My biggest issue is like I've tried all these different side hustles and they haven't worked, which is why I think like the next natural thing I need to do in this video journal is kind of go back through all these side hustles and also all the jobs that I had and figure out like why they didn't work out, recurring patterns. That way I make sure that I'm actually picking the correct thing next time. Because again, I know myself that whenever I pick that thing, I'm just going to just go all in. And once I go all in, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months go by super fast. and then you're sitting there at the end and like I've made no progress, and I just wasted all that time. And again, when you do that so many times, it's just exhausting. And again, the devil's advocate would be, well, that's just how it is. Like when you're doing a side hustle, when you're taking a risk, like sometimes it doesn't work out. And another thing that that I'm like the poster child of is the idea of like survivor bias, but the idea that obviously everything you see on social media is always like positive and inspirational and motivational. Usually, I understand that there's like the whole fear mongering thing, but I'm saying like on like the business side of YouTube and social media, it's mostly positive. It's mostly people who made it telling you that this is what they did to make it, and if you do these things, that you'll make it too. But you don't really see like the people who failed, and the difficult part is not only do you not see the people who failed, but you also need to recognize, or I need to recognize that the vast majority of people failed, and what you see, even though it appears like everyone's super successful, it's because you're only seeing the successful people, right? As opposed to all the people who failed aren't on social media posting about here's why I failed this, or I guess they are, but that's not what you see. It's not what has like the millions of followers and has the podcasts and whatnot, because that's what people want to see. They want to be inspired to greatness, to be able to do this thing that is super difficult, and you get to live this great lifestyle with all this money and stuff, and fame and validation, but you don't see the failures. And so someone like me, who I definitely get, I'm definitely motivated internally, but also externally as well. It's kind of like a balance of each. You see all these people who are super successful, and even though they say like, yeah, it takes years and years of time and all this stuff, like once you actually go through the years of doing the hustle and the bustle, and you have nothing to show for it, it is frustrating when you see all these people who tell you that if you do the hustle and bustle, you're gonna make it, and you don't, and you're like, okay, like, is something wrong with me? Like maybe I'm just not smart, or whateve. And so I kind of got all that going on in my mind at the same time, and now I'm like, I feel like I'm back at square one again of what am I gonna do? I've tried many different things. They've all failed for different reasons and similar reasons, which so again, logically thinking, okay, so what's the solution to that? Instead of just moaning about it, what's the solution? And it's got to be, as opposed to just rushing into the next thing, like sitting down, making a list of all the like this is more of like I don't think I can do this like on the whim. I think it'd be better if I actually sit down and write it out. Like, hey, so from when you graduated college, here's the jobs you had, and here's kind of like the chronological progression of your jobs, and the side hustles, and then the jobs, the side hustles, each one, and kind of explain like why you chose it. And again, I don't know what the structure would be exactly, but I need to have some sort of structure, some sort of common thread, some sort of like outline, and then kind of like think about it for each one, and then talk about it in video form, because again, in your mind, written, speaking out loud, different thoughts come up, right? When you're writing it, it's a lot slower. When you're thinking about it, it's completely out of control. And then when you're talking about it, it's in between thinking and writing. So but yeah, it's just it's just frustrating. It's super frustrating to be in the situation, and again, I don't know if I just need to just. It's just hard to like figure out what, like again, it's just so confusing, because like about how much you need to dwell on the past as opposed to just move forward, and maybe there is no right answer, but or not even dwelling on the past, but like dwelling on the negatives, right? Because the past like 6 months, I haven't really been focused on the negatives at all. I'm trying to focus only on the positives. Like this is what I'm doing. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that this is a very low probability of success. People have done it. I'm smart. So I can do it too. And now I'm kind of on the flip side of like, okay, maybe I can't do it because I'm looking back at my past and I've not been able to do it. And I've spent lots of time doing it. And sure, there's ways I could have done it better, but maybe the fact that I didn't do it better is something wrong with me. So I'm kind of like going in the opposite end. So obviously I'm sure there's some sort of balance that needs to be had, but it's just frustrating. Um, it's just frustrating. I took the risk, and it didn't work out. At least not yet. And that's another thing too that my wife said too, because the conversation started with me again kind of being negative, and I was like, man, like maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I can't remember what specifically I said of the thing that I shouldn't have done. It was one of the jobs where I this was actually where a side hustle kind of like it actually was like kind of looking good. So I had this job and I was doing the side hustle of real estate, but it was for like a company. I was like freelancing for a company, and so I was kind of doing that during the day instead of my job, and then I can't remember what the order of operations was. I think he offered me like a full time job basically. No, he didn't. I don't think he'd offered me the full time job yet. I think I was like it was in real estate. I think I wanted to be like an agent or something. And again, this is kind of like going into me needing to write this down because I don't fully remember what exactly happened. But the kind of the thought that I had that I presented to my wife was I had a job when I went to quit. He essentially told me I had like Peter Pan syndrome, like I was basically acting like a child, and by having this like dream of being like an entrepreneur and how that's not realistic, and like he's basically saying like his son's the same way. It's like a millennial thing where they go on YouTube and they see these people who had some side hustle, they turn into an actual business and they're making all this money and they're living this great life with the cars. This is like old YouTube, right, where it was all about like it was super flashy. It's not how it was now. I mean, it's like that now, but there's balance now. There was zero balance back then. It was all like completely clickbaity. And I was like, I'm gonna get into real estate. I'm gonna buy real estate. That was the thing at the time. And so he told me that was basically me being childish. And it actually technically kind of like worked out. I did get a job in real estate, and that was like my longest job that I had. But I'm gonna kind of look back, and that was like where I exited like the corporate W-2 business like regular world. And I was like, maybe I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should just stay in the corporate world because basically I was entertaining the idea of going back into it now, and it's like, man, I just wasted all that time. And that's kind of where she said like, no, like I don't think you waste all that time. Like you need in the I guess this is a long way of saying this is a long way of me saying she told me to not give up. Basically, it's like you only lose. Basically, you lose when you give up, and you're like, yes, you've made mistakes, but I don't think you should regret any of those mistakes because all those decisions kind of brought you to now, and you've got a family, you've got three healthy kids, and you're living a nice life, and so by saying you regret the decision, if you would have made a different decision, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. And so again, that's why I'm glad I brought it up to her because I was kind of spiraling a little bit. Which is why I think it's important. I don't just talk to myself. I have to also talk to people in real life. But again, I think that's kind of like the balance point of like, yes, like it's good to dwell on the negatives, but you don't want to become negative. You want to extract the lessons from that. But at the same time, you don't want to delude yourself into thinking that this next side hustle that you do is the end all be all, and you're not going to take any feedback or criticism from the outside because you're coping with the fact that that's what some guy on YouTube said you should do. It's like, no, like you've tried this, you've tried the coping, you've tried the negativity. Neither one of them work. So it's like, hey, let's do both. Let's not think that like I'm gonna fail at this thing. Like say like, hey, I'm gonna do this, but also be able to take kind of feedback from your past, but also from people in the future. And then that middle ground of what my wife said is just you can't give up. Like you got to keep trying and be okay with like going like being a stay-at-home dad or going back to the W-2 world is not quitting, not giving up. Like you can still try to do the side hustle thing while you're working. It's just not right now. And this is just a phase, a season in your life where, you've got to sacrifice your hustle and bustle, side hustle stuff and focus on family. And then when they go back to school, you can do that again. But before then, you might have to actually go back to work depending on other situations with your job. So, so is there anything else I want to do for this video journal? I think that's enough. That's a lot. Of course, now he's totally fine. Because I was thinking, I'm gonna have 5 minutes, and then he's gonna wake up, and next thing you know, who knows how long it's been. But these video journals are definitely fruitful. I'm gonna keep doing them for sure. And something else I'm thinking about is, why don't you just do these video journals for yourself? Like, why do you need to post them? And the answer is 100% for ego reasons. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, right? But I do think maybe it's not 100% ego reasons, but it's mostly ego reasons, right? Like I'm willing to admit that I want people to watch this for my own feelies of seeing the views and the comments and the likes and the subscriber count go up. But also it would be good to, because as I said, I have no friends in real life, and it would be nice to, and I think a lot of it's because I'm like afraid to be someone's friend, because then you have to have kind of serious conversations, and I gotta admit that I kind of think I'm like a failure. But if I can do this, put this out there, and there's other people who are in similar situations, feeling similar ways, find this and comment, and then I can build some sort of like community, outside of the comment section, obviously, of these people. Then we can I won't say be friends, but I mean maybe. I'm not gonna be traveling around meeting people in real life, but Discord chats or whatever the kids are doing these days. I don't know exactly what it would look like, but it would be nice to find other people, because where I live, this is not how it is. And I guess building friends is a whole other conversation. But I've always had a hard time keeping friends. There's one guy that I was friends with back in my early 20s. This is probably when I met him right after college, my first job. And I wouldn't say we're friends, but he's the only person I'm kind of still in contact with. And I guess there's one other guy as well. Maybe two people, but not your traditional friendship of hanging out or talking. It's more of every 6 months we send a funny meme to each other, and then that's it. But it would be nice if this somehow results in me having some sort of digital relationship with other guys who are going through something, not the exact same thing. They don't have to be stay-at-home dads, but more so people whose wives make a lot of money, more than them, and how they're how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that emotionally? How do you deal with that physically in the world? Do you just why am I even working if she's making all this money? Kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's good for now. See ya.